Hey folks, thanks for joining me. Today we are taking a look at Transformers Energon Omega Supreme. Now, the Omega Supreme figure here is named after the original G1 Omega Supreme, which I have already reviewed and is an excellent figure in and of itself. This figure, however, is unique. I don't think we've ever had a figure like this before. It's definitely a unique specimen. Now, the Omega Supreme figure was repainted into a blue and white Omega Guardian figure, or Omega Sentinel, in both the US and Japan. And this figure is actually going to be re-released in Asia under I think it's the Year of the Dragon Takara special release. So no idea what the color scheme is going to be there, but it should be interesting. Now, Omega Supreme is made up of two different pieces. First off, the aircraft carrier, and second, the massive crane truck. So taking a look at the aircraft carrier first, modeled in blue, red, and gold with a weird front of a clear orange plastic. I like the aircraft carrier a little more. It just works better, and it has a very, I don't know, Star Blazers vibe to it going, I think. Now, the top crest houses the head unit, which I'll show you in just a little bit, but this unit comes out. All of the weapons here are fully movable. You can move them around, and the weapons in the front, two of them do fire missiles, so these guys up here. Now, when you move one of them, you move all three, and then they actually will turn up and down on their own, which is a nice touch. Overall, the detailing on the aircraft carrier is excellent. You've got a lot of nice molding, and it just looks really, really cool. Plus, this giant engine in the back really makes you think that this thing is going to fly. As I said, the aircraft carrier tower does hold the little robot that becomes the head of Omega Supreme. So to get him out, all we do is fold this piece up, grab the figure, and yank him out. So then when we do that, we can fold the tower back down and fold those pieces into place, and then you get the tower again. It still looks like a giant seat, but it works a little bit better this way. The crane truck part of the figure is a little bit odd, I'm not going to lie. It's also significantly heavier. Here, let's see if I can't get that yep, there we go, not squeaking anymore. The bright yellow is very traditional Omega Supreme, and the giant crane claw arm on the back of the vehicle is traditional Omega Supreme. Overall, it's not that bad. I'm just not a huge fan of it. It's very weird having a giant crane truck and an aircraft carrier. That's a little weird. Bad? No. Weird? Yes. But it's not a bad thing. It does work. I just find the asymmetry just odd. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the crane truck's features. The crane's gimmicks include this weird little... I'm not sure what this is. I think this is supposed to be a little bit of a crane set that can move around and pick up things, but it doesn't really add anything. It doesn't do anything. It does swivel, but it doesn't, these crane parts move up and down, but other than that, it does nothing. The other bit is the giant claw that is on the back of the vehicle. So there is a slider on the one side, and when you slide it, it pushes the claw forward, and then the claw can open and close. A nice touch, a little... works for a crane, but a little odd. The last part or component of Omega Supreme is what I've dubbed Omega Head. This little dude is actually pretty cool. I mean, he's a little Omega Headmaster. I like him a lot. His posability is that of a headmaster. Arms move, legs move, and then they curl up to form the head. Size-wise, well, he's kind of tiny. Here he is next to Cyberverse class Commander Megatron. So, yep, there it is. In vehicle mode, both of these guys can combine into the Omega Train. And all you do is put the aircraft carrier in the front, put the other guy in the back, stuff the other guy in the train compartment, or into the engine compartment, and that's it. We have the Omega Train. It's 48 inches of Omega-ness. Yeah, this is how the guy flies in the show. It looks just as silly as you might think it does. Now, along with the Omega train, each one of these guys has a battle platform mode, which I'm going to show you now. For the aircraft carrier to start, we're going to reach underneath the tower, lift up and unpeg it, and then swivel it around and plug it back in. And actually, before we do that, rotate the tower around so it's pointing forward. Next, collapse the rear of the vehicle mode down and twist it around. And then you just kind of have to start fiddling with it until you can get it into position. That's right. There we go. So here we have its weapon mode. And the way it works is you're supposed to have maybe a Deluxe or a Voyager class figure come by and grab onto these posts that fold out from the side. But as you can see, Prime's arms don't turn. So you could just have him kind of doing that. I do actually remember this being in the show at one point as just kind of like a mobile cannon. Really kind of silly if you ask me. Oh well, so let's look at the crane. So for the weapon mode of the crane, what we're going to do is actually fold the crane arm up and then turn it 180 degrees pointing behind it. Take the front of the crane car and fold that up, and take the entire section like this, just kind of fold it up so that you have the crane fist pointing up, and then you can fold out the blue handlebars, and there you have an uppercut machine. That's really what I call it. That's all it kind of does, is just kind of uppercuts the bad guys. Now, I believe this was actually shown in the show as being like a digging machine or an excavating machine, but here it just looks kind of silly. Now, you can turn it around like that, but then you really don't get anything. You just get what looks to be half of a robot kind of doing a really bad sidestep. So there's the two weapon modes, the crane uppercut punch mode and the aircraft carrier cannon blaster thingy mode. Since we've now taken a look at the alt modes and the weird different ways it combines and can do different things, let's go ahead and get Omega Supreme formed up. To begin, we're going to take the crane, turn it on its side, rotate the front of the vehicle so that it is pointing forward with the crane on its right side, fold the front of the vehicle up to form a foot, and there we have half an Omega Supreme. So we'll put him down for now. For the aircraft carrier, we will lift up the tower again, rotate it around again, just like we did for the weapon mode, like that. Take the bow of the ship and fold it forward like that. And then we'll fold out the back of the vehicle so it's pointing straight down on this set of hinges. And ungrab the rest of the bow of the ship and pull that over. So what I did was, let me show that to you again. So here's the bow of the ship. Take the front part of the bow and fold that down to form a shoulder, and then take the very front part of the bow and fold that down to form a hand. So there we go. And then we combine them up using the sets of pegs that are found there. Snap them into place, and I screwed that up because there is a piece under the crane or inside the crane that you have to fold up like that. And then we can form them up. There we go. So there's the body. We'll take the little Omega dude, put his arms straight down, turn him upside down, fold up his legs like that, turn him around, and fold up the face. One thing I've always found very odd is it looks like he already has like a little head. Very, very weird. So for the final bit, we'll just drop the Omega Supreme head right on top of that what looks to be the other head. And there we go. And here we have Omega Supreme in all of his giantness glory. This is a big figure. I can't even tell you how big it is because, well, it's just big. So to give you an idea of the size, we're going to grab the gold standard of the Super Train Megazord. He is just about as tall as the Super Train Megazord. I mean, they are almost the same height. So he is a big toy, as he should be for the original $50 that he was. Now, for those of you who don't have the Super Train Megazord, let's see, what else can I compare him to? Here are some other things for size comparison. We've got animated, or I'm sorry, not animated, we've got for FE Edition, Transformers Prime Optimus, War for Cybertron Generations Prime, a standard SH Figuarts, a Generations toy, Wheelie, Great Gokaido, and Sazabi. This is the most random size comparison I could find. So yes, Omega Supreme is a very large figure, but he is a lot of fun, and he's very, very interesting. Now, there are a few features that we need to talk about here in robot mode. First of all, let's talk about his posability. He is posable, but because of the size of the figure, he is a little bit difficult to pose. So he's got ratchets in the shoulders and in the elbows on both sides. No head articulation. Well, I guess you could consider this head articulation. Then he's got some knee articulation and then hippish articulation. But you're really not going to get a lot of poses out of him. He's so big and he is so heavy, you're not going to want to pose him all that much. I just wouldn't. Now, he does have another feature, and that has to do with these little plugs that when you fold out, you get these squares. Well, what these are meant to combine with Optimus's little vehicles. So here we have him all combined up with those vehicles, and he looks absolutely ridiculous. Now, there is an issue with the arm, the claw arm specifically. So when you put the arm down, the weight of this guy does have a tendency to deploy the claw arm very easily, unless you have it locked into place. Now, this is the way I prefer to have him. You can mix and match it any way you wish. I still think it looks absolutely ridiculous. So, this being one way to combine with Optimus and his accessories, there is one other way to combine him with Optimus, though. So here we have Optimus. To get him ready to combine, all you do is fold up the head and put on his helmet. And that's it. That's all you do. With Omega, however, a little bit more complicated. Actually, I'm going to split them apart. Pop off the Omega head. Take this section and push that down so we don't have a little face showing. And then fold this yellow piece up all the way. And then on both sides, go to the back of the Omega Supreme and open up these doors. Oh, and then this little yellow piece, just fold that down. And then what we do is we put Optimus in between, and we make an Optimus Omega sandwich. And there we have, I guess, what we would call Omega Prime. Now, for the little Omega head, you can store him up inside the crane. And he'll fit in there somehow. No, that's not it. So you just gotta put the legs out then. Yeah. There you go. So you can put them up there. Yeah. Now, one thing you can do is flip this part all the way open. So you could just kind of slide this over to the side a little more. You could do that, but such a big body. Such a tiny little head. I think this is absolutely ridiculous. I understand what they were going for, but it just looks silly. Especially when you turn the robot mode around. You have a Prime sticking out of your back. No, it's not perfect, and it is rather just silly. But it is a major point in the show, and I guess you could say that this is Prime. First he starts out as Prime, and then he combines with 4 autonomous vehicles, that he could, well, not autonomous if he controls them, but for remote-controlled vehicles, and then he merges with Wing Saber, and then finally he merges with Omega Supreme to become Omega Convoy. Well, Omega Convoy in Super Link, I guess Omega Prime here. No, I just don't care for it. Should you have Transformers Energon Omega Supreme in your collection? You know, it's not a bad figure. And it's nice that there is a big, giant figure that could go toe-to-toe with Armada Unicron. So yeah, on that respect, I would put him in your collection. I would get him. But, you know, only get him if this is something you really, really, really want. He takes up a lot of space. The box he comes in is absolutely enormous. And he's not perfect by any means. But he is a fun figure to have. And if you're into giant Transformers, then this is a must-have for your collection. Otherwise, I would spend your money somewhere else.